Hey everyone, Paul. Welcome to the Ha Giang Loop. And I am going to spend the next 3 days here traveling all over northern Vietnam in beautiful conditions. Come along for this amazing journey. You will not believe it. Hey everyone, it's bucket list time and I'm off to Vietnam and to the northernmost part of Vietnam up by the China border. And what I'm going to do is the Ha Giang Loop. And you rent a motorcycle. I rented a motorcycle from this company and got a guide who led me everywhere for 3 days, and we rode forever through these mountains, and it was absolutely stunning. Now, thousands and thousands of people are doing this route. There are lots of motorcycles because it's very popular to do, particularly with young people. I'm sure I was the oldest person on a motorcycle up there because most of the people are like 21 years old and 22 years old, but it was just fantastic, very beautiful. And what I did is my famous weather traveling. So I was in Japan, I've been watching the weather for the week I had off, and I thought to myself, if the weather's perfect, I'm going to finally get this off my bucket list. And the weather was absolutely unbelievable. Day 2, sparkling blue skies. The first day, a little bit of overcast, but warm. Most of the time, this is a rainy place. Lots of rain and mud. So you got to hit it right, and I hit it perfectly, and you could see the route I took. A lot of dirt roads, a lot of beautiful roads, way out in the middle of nowhere. A lot of people who are indigenous to Vietnam and just living way off the grid in the middle of nowhere. So it was a super interesting ride and a lot of fun. And my guide Sonny, he was awesome as well. And he just went off in front of me and I just kept up with him and pulled out my phone and I used my Relive app and just shot a picture everywhere. And eventually I figured out that video was even better to do. But day 1 I did all pictures. Day 2 I started to do some videos and it really came out really nice. But you can see this is a spectacular landscape. Now, been to a lot of national parks in China as well, and China on the southern part has a lot of beautiful mountains like this, but I've never done it on a motorcycle, and doing it on a motorcycle and out in the middle of nowhere is just beautiful. Most of the time we weren't around anybody, but occasionally we come across big huge groups of motorcycles going by. Everybody's on scooters like 125, some people on 150s, most times really small. This is the homestay that I stayed at. It's really, really cool, really beautiful. The next morning woke up, it was day 2, and we were back out of this valley, and we came out of the valley the way we came in. It was absolutely beautiful. When I was going through the little town on the way out, though, I noticed the school kids were doing their morning stretching and dancing, so I stopped and did a little video reminiscing of Japan, very similar. They even had leaders up on the front, so it was pretty cool. And then a lot of the indigenous people there just walking down the street with their backs loaded full of things, just incredible. Great cultural experience. And look at these mountains, they're just like over the top. It's like going to the moon. It's so unusual. But day 2, look at the blue skies, just absolutely stunning. And a lot of the people, local people, drying their corn out there and their crops. And I've seen a lot of farms in my days across the United States and Japan, but these people have to work really hard to grow things up here because they don't have a lot of flat land. They grow things on the side of the mountains a lot. They make it happen somehow or another up there, but look how beautiful the landscape is. And the roads were surprisingly good. Now, that doesn't mean they're always good, because a lot of times I was on roads that were so treacherous you couldn't even believe it, like mud and rocks and ruts and everything else. But I managed that. I've ridden a lot of motocross, so I'm familiar with that. But I was on a little like 125, little Suzuki, but it actually worked pretty well. And then we went down to this reservoir, and this reservoir was just like insane. It was so beautiful. These are the highest cliffs in Vietnam, and this reservoir has got a dam, and it backs it up, and then it goes through this very narrow passage. You can see it coming up here pretty soon. There it is right there. And you just go down in the middle of that. And then later on the day, we climbed up out of the gorge and we actually went up and looked down on top of it. And I couldn't believe how deep it was. It was much deeper looking down on it than it was looking up on it, because you just can't really appreciate it. But there's the gorge there. And then coming back out of the road, and the roads were just stunningly beautiful. I had shorts on most of the time and a light coat, sometimes a little cool in the morning. Then down into the village, and some water buffaloes walking up the road just before I got to the homestay. And pretty cool day all in all, and I really appreciate the great weather. Just remember to weather travel. So day 3, I traded in my 120 motorcycle for a real man's motorcycle, a Honda 150. This thing had way more power than the original bike I had, and it was just incredible to have that handling. I wish I had on some of those dirt roads I had, but as I took off, it was just very, very beautiful. The sky was bright blue, and the terrain was always changing. Sometimes I had palm trees, next things I had pine trees. It was just crazy how diverse it was. Steep rock faces, and then beautiful valleys to descend down into. Everywhere I went, it was just so killer. So I highly recommend this trip. Again, as I've said before, weather traveling is the only way. What I would do, if you don't have the flexibility I have, if you're planning a trip to Southeast Asia or to Vietnam for a week or two, I would just know that I would not book anything until the last minute, and I'd watch the weather, and if it's better up north, go up north. If it's better down south, go down south. But plan your trips around the weather, because it makes such a difference. I watched so many videos, you can't believe it, of people doing this in horrific weather, and I thought, these people are crazy. And so I got it perfect. And all those people that suffer through this, I don't even know why anybody would do this in bad weather, because what would you see? You'd just be winding through foggy mountains, and I just thought, no way. And look at, I had the perfect trip. So I'll let you watch the rest of this, and as we get to the end, I interviewed Nick, the owner of the company that helped me plan this whole thing. He did such a great job, and it was just so cool. So enjoy, and I highly recommend this. And yes, I contacted Nick just 3 days before I arrived, and he did the whole thing and got it perfect. That's what I'm talking about, weather traveling. It's the only way. And then we stopped at this one stop, and they were doing mountain karaoke. It was absolutely crazy. I got a little video looking out over this beautiful ravine and then back, and I thought to myself, you know what, I got to get into this a little bit. I'm in Vietnam. I got to bust some moves and have some fun. Why not? Sonny got some great video of me. What a hoot. And then on to the weaving village. We saw these ladies that were 95 years old making this beautiful fabric out of hemp, and they go through this long process. It's just crazy what they do to make this material, and it's so old-fashioned and so authentic. It's just such a great culture, and I love how beautiful their clothes are, bright colored clothes, and then they heat it all up, and then they weave it all. Look at this compared to Sakichi Toyota's mother. Just reminded me of that, you know, weaving and working very hard. And then this is how they put a gloss on it like this. It's just really a cool process. Then they take beeswax and they dip it in there, and they make these beautiful, beautiful designs. This lady is 95 years old and still working strong and in great health. Isn't this just incredible? And then I wanted to show everyone what it's like when you eat. So you stop at these rest stops that are everywhere along the way. You can stop every 10 minutes if you want, and people stop for lunch and they feed you all this beautiful food, and it's a real great community, and just super, super cool experience. Paul Akers here. I'm here with Nick, the owner of
Ha Giang Adventure.
So Nick planned everything for me. I wanted to come up here and finally do the Ha Giang Loop, and I contacted Nick on WhatsApp. He arranged the bus, the limousine bus, the sleeper bus, whatever you want from Hanoi. Just flying to Hanoi. He gets you up to his place about 5 or 6 hours, then gets you on a motorcycle, gives you the gear, gets you the guide, plans the hotel, the route, the fuel, the food. Every detail is taken care of, and all you have to do is think about having fun. That's right, man. It was unbelievable. 3-4 days, whatever you want to do. Beautiful weather, fantastic thing, and contact Nick on WhatsApp. What's your WhatsApp? Right there. So 848-865-838-216. Contact them. You'll have an amazing trip. Super reasonable, awesome time. All you have to do is think about having fun. That's right. I had so much fun. It was unbelievable. Fun. That's right, man. There you go. 131 countries and another great adventure crossed off my bucket list.